My name is Charles Severance. I am a clinical professor at the University of Michigan School of Information. So I teach the world's largest Python course, which is the world's largest programming course. I've touched over 4 million students. Over 150,000 students have completed at least one of my classes. And one of the things that's important to me is perhaps why that is, because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of Python courses scattered through all kinds of platforms, and I wasn't even the first Python course. And what I found is a very unique niche, and that unique niche is that computer science professors actually don't know how to teach an introductory computer science course. They know how to teach an introductory computer science course to someone who's been programming for several years. And then they're teaching them an introduction to computer science, not an introduction to programming. And so what I specialize in is actually teaching an introduction to programming, which is a prerequisite to the introduction to computer science. And so the way the course initially became successful is students wanted to learn Python. They would take an intro computer science class and they would flunk out of that class, usually in the first week, and they'd be really frustrated. And they'd talk to the teaching assistants in the class, and the teaching assistants would say, well, you go take Python for everybody and then come back. And pretty soon that's what happened. I mean, people would take Johns Hopkins courses, and they would come take my course and go back to Johns Hopkins course. They would take a Rice course, they would come back to my course, then they would go back to a Rice course. And so I became, over the last 5 years, effectively the de facto prerequisite for literally everything Python. And what's interesting is 5 years ago, Python was a language, when I started teaching Python, 2007, 2008 now, I just thought Python was a good first programming language that you would learn, and then the immediate thing that you'd do is you'd learn a grown-up language, that Python wasn't like a real programming language. And so that's when I built the class. It was like, well, you got to learn to program, go take some other class, learn some other language, do some other thing that's real. And in the time between 2012 and today, we've got to the point where Python is the real language. And it's worse than that. Python is starting to eliminate other languages to the point where people need an education in Python, and frankly, they can go through their whole career and never learn another programming language. If you're 25 years old right now, you could learn Python, you could work an entire 50-year career and never learn another programming language. And in the future, it's going to get, I don't know if the word's worse, not better, Python is going to further dominate. And so here I am teaching the world's best first Python class on the language that is the only language that is growing, and it's growing super fast right now. The need for programmers is just expanding and expanding, and I just luckily ended up in the right place at the right time with the right course at the right level and millions of students. Well, probably the best number to say would be across all the platforms I probably have taught and completed, across all my platforms, I probably have graduated about 200,000 students. The largest number, which is the number of students that kind of enrolled in the class, is over 4 million. So historically, my classes were on Coursera because the University of Michigan was a founding partner, one of the first four Coursera schools. We became an edX partner later. For me, I never really did the course to make a lot of money, even though it turns out that it has made a lot of money for Coursera, for the University of Michigan, and now increasingly for edX. I did it because I wanted to touch as many students as I possibly could. And so the fact that it wasn't on edX, that it was only on Coursera, for me was very frustrating. Not because I wanted more money, but because I wanted more students. I wanted to touch people, and I knew that edX was missing a course that was a beginning programming course, and that if I could just give that as a gift to the entire edX community, then edX would be better. And I want to make more programmers. I want to make them, I don't want them to have to switch from edX to Coursera. I want them to learn however they want to learn and do the best that they can on any platform. And so that's why I'm really excited to, as of January of 2019, I am now on the edX platform. My courses are on the edX platform. And my courses are available on Amazon. I hope my courses will soon be available on FutureLearn. And if there was another, my courses were available on CanvasNet, and my courses were available on Blackboard's course sites. Now those are probably MOOC platforms that most people have never even heard of. But that that basically is my philosophy that says I'm going to teach Python for everybody everywhere. Literally on every corner of the planet. I don't care where you're at. So the University of Michigan just recently translated my course into Arabic. And so there is a special Arabic course. I mean, that's Python for everybody everywhere. And we're talking with edX about translating my course into Spanish and putting it on the Spanish portal. And that is my joy. My joy is everywhere, right? That nobody, no matter what country, no matter what language you have, everyone has a chance to get a decent technical job that can take care of their families and, you know, give them a life and a future and give them a step into education. Sometimes you just have to learn programming and then you can learn so many more things. Well, I have short-term plans for teaching and medium-term plans for teaching. I've already built another course that is a specialization on Coursera called Web Applications for Everybody, where I teach PHP and SQL. And I love that class. It was based on an on-campus course that I taught at the University of Michigan. But I think that there's just not a lot of new people that are going to want to learn PHP going forward. I mean, PHP is a great language, and WordPress works in it, and Drupal works in it, so there's a certain demand for PHP, but I am seeing that the demand for web developers is going to be in Django. And so this current semester, I am teaching on campus a master's course to master's students, and a course to undergraduate students on Django. And when I teach a course, I don't just teach a course. When I teach a course, I build a MOOC, because I have my own learning object repository and app store that I call Sugi, and I build all of my learning material in my own learning object repository and app store, and then I put that into Canvas or Sakai or Moodle or Coursera or edX through Learning Tools Interoperability. And so at this minute, you can go to www.dj4e.com and you can see the course that will in time be on Coursera and edX and FutureLearn and every other platform, and I've called it Django for Everybody. So my whole dream is this whole series of courses that end in for everybody. And it's kind of like the Dummies Guide to Django, except it's not dummies. These people are not dummies. I think that's a horrible thing to say, right? This is Django for everybody, meaning every human being on the planet needs to learn Django. Python for everybody. Every human being on the planet needs to learn Python. Now, that's my medium-term plan. So that will, at that point, I will have by far the world's record course, a number of MOOCs produced by one person, because I have 5 Python MOOCs, I have 1 standalone MOOC, and I have 4 PHP MOOCs, which means I have 10 MOOCs. And if I get my Django for everybody, that'll be 14 MOOCs and 3 specializations, all one person. But I'm not stopping there. I have a dream that is all about blank for everybody. And so the next classes, when I get that done, the next classes that I'm going to teach are C programming for everybody and hardware for everybody. So I'm going to teach every human being on the planet how we write systems programs, but I'm going to teach it in a way that is fun, joyful, and approachable and interesting. So I'm not a computer scientist, so I'm not going to make them miserable or difficult. I'm going to make them curiosity-based and joy-based. And so I'm going to teach how to do C. I'm going to teach hardware. I'm going to teach how gates are used to make a microprocessor. I am going to teach how assembly and machine language are used to program microprocessors. And then I'm going to teach them how like memory allocation in C works. But I'm going to teach like everybody this. And so, and then I'll be done. I'll relax at that point. And I'll retire and go be a race car driver and just have all those courses. That's my ultimate goal, is to teach all those classes. And then the whole purpose of all of that is so that somebody, no matter where they're at in the world, can make an informed decision as to whether they want to be a computer scientist or not. And if they want to be a computer scientist, then they're going to be successful as a computer scientist. No matter how much money you have, no matter what continent you come from, no matter what your economic condition is, then you're ready. And so every class that I have built is a bridge class to somewhere. And so hardware for everybody, C programming for everybody are a bridge to a computer science degree. And that's because even though I'm somewhat critical of introductory computer scientist courses, I am a computer scientist myself. And what we really want is for people to love what we love. And I love computer science. I don't like how it's taught, but I love computer science. And so the whole arc of all of these things I've been doing for the past almost decade now is to build a bridge into computer science that hopefully will make it not just into MOOC platforms like edX and Coursera, but also into liberal arts colleges and community colleges and high schools. And if you'll know that I'm completely successful if every kid in high school everywhere in the world knows hardware, C, Python, and Django before they graduate high school.